Welcome, everyone. What a great event. This is my first. Anybody else, is this their first Resource Bank meeting? All right, let's give everybody a hand. Thank you. What an inspiring time. I have to admit that I felt like the ugly duckling for the last 14 years. Some of you are too young to know the ugly duckling children's story. Some of you are old enough to have read it. Some of you know that the swan's egg got misplaced into the duck's nest and grew up among the ducks, thinking it was ugly, being called names, looking out over the lake at the beautiful swans, wondering if he could ever be that beautiful, wanting to be more beautiful than he was. But one day, he saw himself in the lake, a reflection, and realized he wasn't a duck, he was a swan. And he joined his brothers, the beautiful swan on the other side, and lived happily ever after. The same thing happened to me when I ended up in the Congress. I was out of place. I was a misfit. I was called names: radical, extreme, firebrand, even Hobbit by John McCain. And I could look out my Senate window over at the Heritage Foundation and see the beautiful conservatives over there, and travel around the country and see the beautiful conservatives at the think tanks at the state level, and only wish that I could be a part of that. But in December, Ed Fulner came to my office and explained to me that I wasn't a politician, I was a conservative. And I needed to join my family at the Heritage Foundation. So Ed, thank you for helping me find my family, and thank you for being one of my heroes. It's really been fun over the last few months. He and I and the Heritage team have traveled all over the country. He and I have probably been in 15 cities. I've been in another 10. I told him I was convinced he really wasn't retiring. He was trying to kill me. But I came away inspired. Everywhere we went, people came out. They were ready to go to battle again for the principles of freedom. They just wanted some leadership. And so I came away from all of those travels believing that we have got this in our hands if we just follow through with what we've been talking about here. We know we've got all the pieces. The challenge is just to get it all together. So that's what we do here at Resource Bank. I think we're all going to leave a little more connected with some ideas to move forward. My emphasis is going to be on continuing the great research and policy at Heritage, to support Heritage Action as they work with you to build a permanent grassroots network, and also to work with you to make sure that we not only have the best policy ideas, but we have the best way to communicate it all over the country. That's what we're going to do, and when we get all those pieces working together, I don't think the other side can touch us. But before we begin, let's give the evening to the Lord. I want to call Barbara Rumpel up to ask the invocation for us. Barbara and her husband John are proud members of the Heritage Legacy Society, thanks to a genuine commitment that they have made in their estate plans. In honor of their gift and in recognition of their commitment to protect constitutional rights, specifically connected to the Second Amendment, Heritage has named Todd Gaziano as the John, Barbara, and Victoria Rumpel Director of the Ed Meese III Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. And with a title that long, you know it's important. This commitment commemorates the work of the center and honors the Rumpel's late daughter, Victoria. Barbara is an active member of the National Rifle Association, and she was recently chosen to serve on the executive committee of the NRA's Women's Leadership Forum. So Barbara, come forward and give the invocation, please.
Thank you so much. I want to thank my husband, John, for the use of his cane. I twisted my ankle on the way in here this evening. moment of silence to remember Lady Margaret Thatcher. Dear Lord, in trying times like these, we gratefully remember leaders that with your divine guidance help shepherd us through dark valleys. Leaders like Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher. Now we thank you for bringing us together and uniting our hearts as we weigh and consider how we can return this great nation to the hallowed principles of our founding fathers. We ask you for your continued wisdom and guidance for the leaders of today, especially Jim DeMint and the Heritage Foundation, as we grapple with the vexing issues of our day. Bless all those who serve and have served in uniform, especially those who have died to make and keep us free. And we thank you for the bounty you have bestowed upon us. Bless this food and our fellowship together. Amen.
Thank you, Barbara. Good. I was in Pennsylvania a week or so ago, and the program had the Governor Corbett speaking, and then me speaking before the invocation. And the governor finished speaking, and I got up to speak, and a lady in the very back of the room said, "When are we going to pray?" And I didn't know what to say, but I just said, I think they have the politicians first so we could get the lying out of the way before we said the blessing. But tonight, we had Barbara up first to make sure the Lord blessed our whole evening. I want to introduce Bob McClure with the James Madison Institute here to talk a little bit about what's been going on in Florida. But just to say a couple of things to begin with, because we've had a chance to work with one of the people that Bob's going to talk about, and that's Will Weatherford, the Speaker of the House here in Florida. And Will has shown his mettle in the last month or so when all of the forces around him said to go what we would think would be the wrong way on Medicaid expansion, and he has stood up to all of those forces. And I've called him, we've talked on the phone, encouraged him, and what I told him is that I know from traveling around the country, when one governor decides to give in and expand Medicaid, it affects everyone all over the country. And we hear about it. But when someone takes a stand, it inspires people. And Will was strong from the beginning, and he just said, do everything you can to let America know what we're trying to do so we could get support behind him. And tonight, they had the vote in the Florida House, 4 hours of debate, and they defeated Medicaid expansion. And the think tanks here in Florida had a lot to do with that, but folks, as a critical mass of the conservative movement, it affects every state. So I appreciate the role that everyone had in that. I want to hear from Bob. Bob, I actually have an introduction for you. I should probably go through that before I bring you up here, but we were in, Ed Fuller and I were in Tallahassee a month or so ago to help JMI celebrate 25 years of leadership here in the state of Florida. And their work has helped make Florida one of the most dynamic economies, highest ranked education systems, and fastest growing populations in the nation. They are truly establishing a legacy of liberty in the Sunshine State. JMI is a member of the first generation of the free market state-based think tanks in the country. And we're pleased to have so many state think tanks represented at our resource bank meeting this year. And we're grateful for the opportunity to partner with all of you to advance the cause of freedom. Bob, come up and share some of the things that you've been doing and inspire the rest of us.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for the introduction. The bad news is Will can't be here tonight, and I want to tell you just a couple of things about Will in just a couple of minutes. The good news is we've been working with Will since long before the legislative session, which in Florida meets for only 9 weeks a year. And to know today that Medicaid expansion is dead is truly a great feeling, because we've worked with Will for a long time on that. As Jim said, I am Bob McClure, President and CEO of the James Madison Institute, Florida's oldest and largest free market think tank. And on behalf of our board of directors, our chairman, Alan Bentz, who is a former speaker but couldn't be here tonight, and my fantastic staff who is here as well, I want to welcome you to the Sunshine State. One of our board members is here. He has been just a warrior for the cause. I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce him from Orlando, Rob Goodell. Rob, would you please stand up? I want to say also, for those of you that were at the State Policy Network annual meeting at Amelia Island when it was 40 degrees and freezing cold, this is Florida weather. I want to thank Bridget for the opportunity to be here. I also want to take a point of personal privilege to thank Ed and Jim for what they did in Tallahassee at our 25th anniversary celebration. It was just fantastic. Ed, Jim, thank you both so much for being there. Florida is the land of cornflower blue skies, the land of emerald green waters and sugar white beaches. It's the land of orange juice, as you well know, but it's also the land of the best Cuban food in the free world. But it's also the land of freedom and opportunity, and we have had some tremendous leaders from Florida do some wonderful, fantastic things. Marco Rubio, some of you may have heard of Senator Rubio. Former Governor Jeb Bush, Allen West, former Speaker of the House, and my current board chairman, Alan Bentz, who was Speaker when Jeb was governor, and they did all of those education things, great things. And of course, Governor Rick Scott before Medicaid expansion. Look, I know we're not all going to agree with everyone at all times, but in many ways, those gentlemen have been leaders in the state for free markets and free enterprise, and they've just been fantastic. No doubt you know, demographically, Florida is the entire country, right here in the state. Rural versus urban, the ethnic makeup, growth, transportation, the economy. The state of Florida is the bellwether state for the country. And so we work hard here at the James Madison Institute to protect Florida. We like to say that California has become the bellwether for everything that's wrong with public policy in our country, and Florida has the opportunity to be the bellwether for everything that is right with public policy. In a state where nearly 9 million votes were cast in this recent election, Barack Obama won by 50,000 votes. And we have a tremendous number of independents in this state as well. So our state is up for grabs, and it matters tremendously how Florida goes. And I want to thank the Heritage Foundation for all that they've done as we try to advance the cause of liberty here. Unfortunately, the gentleman you aren't going to be able to hear from is a true warrior. He understands better than most elected officials what matters. He's the only House Speaker, to my knowledge, that can quote Hayek, von Mises, Friedman, and Kirk on a conference call, and that's no lie. Will is a rock star, and what he's done today is proven that our side in a state that is up for grabs can win the debate when we have the right message, the right messenger, and the right infrastructure. And I think that's the key component that we need to understand. What Will has done on Medicaid in defeating Medicaid expansion is that he has made it personal and he's made it relevant to the average, everyday individual. And that's the key, to tell the story. We talk about at JMI, yes, facts matter. Yes, we have truth on our side. And while we have the right argument, the statists have the easy argument. And there's a difference. So while we're 30 seconds into our dissertation about liberty, they're saving the children, saving the whales, and saving the oceans. And what has made Will unique is he has the ability as Speaker of the House, and by the way, he's the youngest speaker in the entire country at 34 years old. He has the ability to connect with the individual. And so while he's not here tonight, I do bring you good news that we have defeated Medicaid expansion in our state. And I think it's important to understand, and I'll turn it back over to Jim, I think it's important to understand this. I know that everyone in this group is really good at getting after elected officials when they make poor decisions or they sell out, and that's as it should be. But I also think it's very important that when a determined, courageous, visionary leader does the right thing on Medicaid expansion, on pension reform, on tort reform, as Will has done, those elected officials like Will deserve our efforts, our hard work, our financial support, and our time. So if you have the opportunity to shoot Will an email, thank you. If you have a chance to shoot Will an email, jot him a note. I know he'd love to hear from you. I know he wishes he was here. He called me on his cell phone and just was broken up that he couldn't be here. But again, thank you all for being here in the Sunshine State, and we look forward to the next few years in the battle together. Thank you.